Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Logical Nonsense Podcast. Week 13 of the NFL brought us some Thanksgiving football. It brought us some Black Friday football or Black Magic football from the Chiefs. I don't know what you want to call it. Then we had some wild games on Sunday and an absolute banger of a game on Monday. Cade, what did you think of this week in football?
What a great week of football. Thankful. I know everyone, I'm sure, enjoyed Thanksgiving. Thankful for your families. Thankful for football. And it delivered this week.
It did deliver this week. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. And I think we should just hop right in and rate in this game, the Broncos versus Browns. I don't know how you can rate it anything else and grab your popcorn. This game was fun to watch. Jameis Winston throwback, 500 plus yards. Jerry Jeudy cooking, and I mean cooking Levi Wallace over and over again. Man got benched. It was a little embarrassing by the Broncos considering their defense is kind of what won them games. Jameis Winston, 2 touchdowns to the Broncos. Yeah, I mean 6 touchdowns total if you count the pick sixes. So man had a great game. But no, I mean it was a fun game to watch. It was fun to watch Jameis. A lot of offense going, obviously. That Bo Nix throw was wild, man. That was a dot. That's probably his best throw I've seen him have in the NFL. Really not that great of a game from Bo Nix. Like if you look at his game, he didn't play bad. I think the stat sheet kind of skews it a little bit. I mean, I know he threw 2 picks. There were some throws where I was like, oof, I don't know about that one. But overall, still got the win. Defense got 3 turnovers when they needed them. I was scared till the end, man. Even when the Browns, we were up by 9, I was still scared, man. They were driving down the field. That PI call late was brutal, but had you on the edge of your seat. That's how we like to end Monday Night Football. Definitely grab your popcorn for me. What do you think?
I agree with you. It was fun way to end the week. For the Broncos, I think this is a huge game for them, a must win. It felt like knowing their schedule. Yep. And you could tell the atmosphere was there. It's fun to see Denver when the team succeeds and the energy is there.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
The fans are crazy when Broncos are good. Yeah.
It was fun to see Jameis, sling the ball around. It's way better him than any other quarterback for the Browns. Yep. Deshaun Watson doesn't even speak levels to what the energy Jameis brings this team. And they're 3-8 now, 3-9 maybe after the loss, but they're a lot more fun of a football team these last couple of weeks, even when they're
competitive
losing.
Now. Yeah.
Compared to just chalk it up as an L. So for the Browns, it's another heartbreaking loss, but they're hanging in games. It's fun, trying to find your way probably for next year. And for the Broncos, this is huge, keeping them in the NFC or the AFC West picture, the playoff picture for Bo Nix. Kind of cementing himself as an offensive rookie of the year.
Yep.
It's especially with the performance down the stretch of this game.
Yeah, I mean he's continuously week by week. He's just looking better. He's looking more confident, and like I said, like even the 2 picks he threw, like they're bad picks. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say they're not good picks, but like those are his first 2 picks in like the last I don't even know how many games. Like it's been a long stretch since we've even seen him turn the ball over. So he's been super efficient running this offense, and honestly, I didn't even know this offense could put up 41 points. So it was, I mean, they didn't do it solely. Obviously, the defense had 2 touchdowns too, but it was just good to see the Broncos kind of thrive a little bit and cook on offense a little bit. I think this team could definitely make the playoffs. But going back to Jameis, I want to ask you something. How many teams do you think he could be the starter on? We talked about the Browns. I definitely think he should be the starter for the Browns. I thought he should have been the starter over Deshaun, if I'm being honest, at the beginning of the year. But I know a lot of people probably would have, at the beginning of the year, probably would have disagreed with that. How many teams do you think he could start on right now?
It's a tough one. I think there's probably 16 to 20 teams that have cemented a quarterback. And then you're probably on the range of the bottom 10 teams in the NFL, which you could see him as a solid starter. I think he could compete for a starting position on almost every team if you give him that chance. He's that talented, but the turnovers are always a key issue with him. That's the baggage you're going to get with
Yep.
Jameis. So I still think he's a solid, top 20, 25 quarterback in this league right now. So I'd say that bottom third he could easily start for.
Yeah, he can swing the ball. There's no doubt about that. It's always been the decision making. I mean, that 30-30 season, right? Like we remember that with him and the Bucs, and I think that was his last season as a starter. But I don't know. I think a lot of people discredit him because of the turnovers, and I get it, like that you can't have that, but like the talent is there. Like there's a reason he was a first round pick. There's a reason why he won a national title with Florida State, and I think he should get another chance, honestly. Whether it be with the Browns, whether it be honestly like a team like the Titans, man, like they could use him. Like I don't even care who you put him in. I think he could definitely be a starter in this league for sure. Going back to the Broncos and the Browns, do you think the Broncos are a playoff team?
Tough schedule. I think yes, their caliber, the defense brings them. The offense has been clicking. I will say they are a playoff team.
I will also say they're a playoff team. Browns, I'm gonna guess no for you. Yeah, no for me too. I think it's too late, but they're competitive. I mean, they're fun to watch. They gave a run for their money with the Broncos. Obviously, beat the Steelers last week. They beat the Ravens. I mean, this team is it can win games. Like they're a team that can kind of shake things up. A team that you maybe don't want to see on your schedule right now. So, all right, well, let's go to our Sunday Night Football, a snowy one. Bills versus Niners. Felt like a must-win game for the Niners, and they dropped it. Rate the game.
It's mid-training overall, but I think it was just kind of domination from the Bills across the board, and it never felt like the Niners had a chance in this game. And any kind of glimpse of hope they had was gone. You saw the injuries again mounting back up. CMC goes out again. Mason goes out again. And it's hard for Purdy without any offense, really, any weapons to get the ball moving on the field. And we knew the Bills at home in their element in the snow, there's a good chance they were going to dominate this game, and they went out and they proved it. And for the Bills, they're chasing the Chiefs still. It's a big win for them. And Josh Allen makes history and bumps himself in the MVP conversation to number one, in my opinion. So that was
number one, Josh Allen.
Gutsy performance. Was the first quarterback to have a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in the game.
Yeah, no, it was.
I think it was crazy. What he's done for his team this year is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, he's carrying this team on their back. It's very interesting. There's so many tweets around, like, he still needs Stephon Diggs. He still needs that number one receiver. I mean, the Bills are 10-2 right now. Like, it's crazy how much of that talk is still going around. I get it. Like, it does feel at times like there's not that number one guy for them, and I thought Amari Cooper would be a bigger role than he has been so far, at least. But he's still finding ways to win. This rushing game by the Bills was, I mean, it was unstoppable. The Niners couldn't stop it, it felt like. And there really wasn't much traction for the Bills to do a whole lot of passing. And like you said, it's totally advantage for the Bills to play in the snow against a team from California, right? Like they're not used to playing in that. And yeah, I mean, CMC was having a good game before he went out. So it was kind of sad to see him go out and be out for the season again. It just sucks because CMC, like when he's healthy, is so good. Like he obviously last year, I still think he should have been MVP last year, and he didn't get that recognition. Now he's been hurt pretty much the majority of the year. Comes back, he hasn't really played like we thought he was going to be that explosive person. We finally see that explosiveness. Then he goes down again. It's like, Jesus Christ. If you're the 49ers, I had this question on my poll. You've got a lot of contracts coming up. Do you give it one more year before you start dealing away players, or what do you think you should do?
I think so. I think you have all the pieces. I just think it's very unfortunate that every key figure got hurt this year. There's not a lot you can do. They might have to offload a defensive contract or two that expires this year, but I think you keep your core offense together. I think you have an easy chance at NFC Championship again next year. They have all the pieces. They have the coaching. I don't think you blow it up just because of one poor season derailed by injury.
I agree. I think you give it one more year. I'll be interested to see if they can stay healthy. If they can, I think, like you said, they can easily make a run for the NFC Championship, maybe even a Super Bowl again. But it does feel like their time is limited, especially with the contracts. They're going to have to let some people go eventually. And like I said, time's ticking. But for the Bills, man, great news. I think they're still making a run at that number 1 seed. And if they do, it's a huge advantage playing at home like they do, especially in the wintertime where you get the snow and you get teams who aren't used to it. I think they could make a run. I can't believe I'm saying that, but their defense has continued to step up when they needed them to, especially in the big games. It feels like their defense comes to play. So, and they've won the games that big win against the Chiefs, big win against the Niners. I think this team could make a run deep into playoffs this year. I'll be very interested to see they play the Lions in 2 weeks. I think that'll be a really good test for them, and it's in Detroit too. So that'll be a one to watch on the radar. I don't think I rated this game, but it definitely is a Mediterranean Sea. Playoff team, Bills.
Absolutely.
49ers.
Nope.
Not anymore. I agree with you on both of those picks. All right, let's go to our next game. A very fun game to watch again. Ravens versus Eagles.
Don't really know. I'm going to go Mediterranean overall. I don't think it really elevated itself to grab your popcorn, and for a Ravens team that's, supposed to be this unstoppable offense, they did not look that good offensively. And the Eagles played a great defensive game. They shut it down. And it was low scoring pretty much throughout the whole way until the Eagles turned it on right at the end. But I think the score is a little bit closer than the game actually was. I feel like the Eagles definitely just controlled this on all aspects of the game.
Yeah.
And for the Ravens, they fall to 8-5. That's not good of a record for a team that should be way better than that. They've dropped a lot of these games that they could have won. And for the Eagles, they're on a tear right now. And they're getting hot at the end of the season right when they need to be, and they're looking scary.
Yeah. He talked about Josh Allen being MVP. I think Saquon could make a case too. He's been playing out of his mind, and he kind of he had a very interesting game because the Ravens kind of I would say limited him in the first half. In the second half, he really poured it on. That big touchdown was huge for momentum for them. Justin Tucker continues to be a problem for the Ravens. There's been a lot of talk about the Ravens getting a new kicker. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think this year you don't. You still think he's your guy. He's been Hall of Fame his whole career.
Do you think he'll turn it around? Like, do you think the mental shit will go away?
He's a veteran. I think he has the capabilities to turn it around. I think, he just needs to see a couple long ones go in.
Yeah.
And I think he can turn around. I don't think you give up on him, this far into the season. He's still Justin Tucker, right? He's still that guy. So it's a struggle right now, but it's sad to see, Father Time
kind of kicking
him.
Literally kicking.
Yeah.
No. And the Eagles, on the other hand, I want to give them mad props because at the beginning of the year, I was a little weary about this Eagles team. They were kind of barely winning those games that they should be kind of dominating, and now they're kind of looking like they're always in control. They're winning the big ones. They're looking like legit contenders, and they could make a Super Bowl run. I was kind of high on them going into the season, and it's starting to work out. Jalen Hurts has been able to not turn the ball over as much, and I think that's been a really big key for the Eagles is not turning the ball over and trusting Saquon. I think they've really just kind of made him a big identity in their offense, and they should. He's playing out of his mind. This is what happens when a team fully trusts their running back and what he's capable of, and their defense has been really, really solid. It's crazy to say that limiting Derrick Henry to 90 yards is good job on defense. Like that's really good. So good job by the Eagles. I'll also rate this game Mediterranean. Ravens playoff team.
Yes.
Eagles playoff team.
Yep.
Both playoff teams here. All right, let's go to the Bucs versus Panthers.
It's a weird game.
Yeah, it was a really weird game. I'll go Mediterranean on this one. I think I was rooting for the Panthers, weirdly enough, because I mean they've kind of they're another one of those teams, kind of like the Browns, where they're kind of just shaking things up. They're kind of that team that late are kind of clicking all of a sudden. They totally should have won this game. I truly believe that. They were up. They kind of lost it at the end. Bucking Irving kind of turned it on towards the end. We talked earlier, like, while there really isn't that rookie running back this year, Bucking Irving is kind of being that guy this year for the Tampa Bay. And, kind of a bad game for Baker, if we're being honest. The Chuba Hubbard fumble, man. Oof. I mean, it's bound to happen. I mean, I know that the New York Giants a few weeks ago, they fumbled and the Panthers won off that fumble. So I guess reverse karma, but the Bucs, they can't cut it that close. If they want to be a playoff team, they can't cut it close like this. They barely got away with this one, but I'm a little worried for the Bucs. Luckily, they're in a really bad division and they can still pull it off. But what were your overall thoughts on this game? What do you rate it?
It was so bad that it was very entertaining at the end. It's a shit show that it was grab your popcorn, so we have to land Mediterranean overall.
Yeah.
But Bryce Young, we'll give him his popcorn. His last 3 weeks, he's looked like a very solid quarterback, and maybe sitting out was good for him. Maybe he developed a little bit, got rid of those yips, for the start of the year.
He's looking confident.
He's playing a lot better. And this Panthers team, they should have won this game. They could have beat the Chiefs last week. Totally. And now they're kind of a competitive, confident team going to the end of the season. They got nothing to lose, everything to play for. So hopefully you get to see Bryce Young continue to play well. And for the Bucs, man, through the first couple of weeks, I was confident in this team. And now they're looking like pretenders in my book.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Which just sucks because, I think they have the pieces. It's just putting them together is struggling with at the moment.
Yeah. They've got the running attack down for sure. I think Bucking Irving and Rachaad White is a good 1-2 punch for them. But like I said, Baker, not a great game for him, 2 picks. And really, the only reason they won this game is because of the way they were able to get their running game going. I mean, I'm actually excited if I'm a Panthers fan because we're starting to see some hope there. I think, again, get him some more weapons. I know Thielen is a great receiver. His time's coming up. Xavier Legette at times looks really promising. Go get him another receiver or two, maybe some linemen. This team might be okay. All right, let's go to our next game, Rams versus Saints.
I'm going to go shit show, man. I didn't really pay attention much to this. It just looked ugly, like looking at the box score too, kind of what went on. It just didn't really look like the Rams should have even kind of won this game, like stat-wise from that aspect, and then they did. And the Saints, I don't know what's going on there. 1 week they look good, 1 week they're just terrible. Taysom Hill goes out with an injury.
Yep.
Rams didn't even use Cooper Kupp hard. It was just a weird game. But big win for the Rams. It keeps them in the NFC West picture and in the wild card picture. So that was big. Sometimes you got to win those ugly games. So it was a shit show overall. Not a lot really going on too much. And Rams got to win when they needed to.
Yeah, I'll also go shit show. It was just an underwhelming game, I think, overall, which when you look at the matchup, I think that makes sense. But Stafford, I expected him to kind of torch this team in their secondary, and he really didn't. He kind of had an underwhelming game. Like you said, a really good win by the Rams, but really not much else to say about this game. I forgot to do the playoff teams on the last two, so I'll do those two and these two.
Yeah.
Buccaneers playoff team.
Just because they won the division. Yes.
Panthers.
No.
Rams. This one's probably the toughest.
I know. I'm going to say no.
No on the Rams. Okay. Saints.
No.
All right. Let's go to our next game. Texans versus Jags. Wow. What a hit on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Do you think the apology letter is enough?
I don't know. It felt kind of weak, really, but I don't know. He's serving a 3-game suspension now. I don't really know what else
And I think
there is
that
for him
speaks
to
for the
do.
Texans because he really
Yeah,
is like their leader, their
yeah, it's
core on defense.
big.
He's impressed me this
It
year. I
is.
mean, I know he's kind of their like dirtier player, but that's kind of a big loss for the Texans.
There's a lot of George Pickens action going on this week. A lot of players crashing out. A lot of
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like that was an absolutely ridiculous hit. And him saying, "Oh, I didn't even like see him sliding," or he was already
Yeah.
on the ground, and then you put all
Yeah. I don't know
240
about that
pounds of
one.
force right into his head. That was not a football hit.
Yeah.
That was not okay.
I think it was a Mediterranean game
Yeah.
overall. I'm still glad to see Nico Collins back in this offense. He's continues to look good, but this Texans team again,
Struggling.
they're just in a slump, man. They just don't look the same as they did last year. They don't have that fire. Even at the beginning of the year, I would say they don't have that fire in them. I'm a little concerned for the Texans. Are you concerned for the
Yep,
Texans?
absolutely. I think this defense at the start of the year, flying around, man, they look like
Yep.
the fastest like defense in the league. They're fun. They've kind of like struggled a little bit the last couple games, and then
Yeah,
offensively, CJ Stroud, sophomore slump, is kind of hitting right now.
totally. Yeah, I think he
He's
is.
not
Yeah,
playing the same. I think, and that's always teams, now that they've seen him for a year, like understanding their
they're
game and stuff.
adjusting.
So
Yeah.
now it got to be another adjustment period for them. But this Texans team, I thought they're going to be a lot better. They're still 8-5, but they're barely, squeaking out these wins. So I'm concerned for them. I think if they can get it together, though, they're definitely a team that can make a run. They have all the pieces already, but they just gotta figure out when they need to like ignite them again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a first round exit team out of the playoffs. If I'm being honest, that might be a bold take, but they just don't. They don't look like they have all the pieces together. Yes, they keep stringing together wins, but that's not going to cut it in the playoffs. Like you're best of the best. You're going to be playing teams that are hungry, and they just don't look hungry right now. CJ Stroud looks like he's in a slump. He didn't even play like that bad of a game. I would say it doesn't look the same. Joe Mixon, in my opinion, is really the guy that is their fire on offense right now, which is thank God because last year they had like no run game. Joe Mixon has been that piece for them this year. And again, I know there were some bold takes last time we were on the pod when I said Joe Mixon top 5 running back, but hey man, he's making a case for it this year. All right. Texans playoff team.
Yes. Yeah.
Jaguars.
No.
All right. Texans, I agree on. Jags, of course not. All right, here we go. Seahawks versus Jets.
Oh, dude, what an ugly game, man. This is a shit show. Like
Yeah.
what are we watching here? The Seahawks, I think, should have blown the Jets out, or at least commanded the game, and they got lucky to win this game, man.
Oh,
They
so
really
lucky.
did. Their defense like, stepped up when they needed to, combined with the Jets
Yeah.
just choking this game away. And
Totally. Yeah.
man, sorry if you're a Jets fan. I don't know what's going on. Rodgers is gone after this year now, pretty much confirmed. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just shit show all around for this. But the Seahawks get a big win for their playoff hopes, and the Jets continue to struggle.
Yeah, I'm gonna go shit show here as well. I mean, it was just a fucking wild game because there was a fumble by Chenault, then there's a kick return for a touchdown. Then the Jets score.
Nope.
Then there's a kick return touchdown. Then there's a muff by Chenault again. And then fucking Aaron Rodgers throws a pick six to Leonard Williams. Like, what the fuck was this game? They're so lucky to win this game, in my opinion. Like, they had no business. Luckily, they were playing the Jets, and the Jets always pissed it down their leg this year. But, goddamn, man, the Seahawks, so inconsistent. That's my biggest thing with them. I think they have a chance for the playoffs, but they are just so inconsistent. They got to be more consistent on both sides of the ball. It felt like the offense wasn't really doing much in this game. Luckily, their defense has stepped it up in the last few weeks. I think that's their saving grace, if I'm being honest. But What do you think the keys are for the Seahawks to get their offense going?
I don't know. Gino's playing he's playing solid at times when he's not rushing it, and I just think the run game really sets up everything else for them. And I think when they get the run game going, then they can get everything else flowing. But when they don't, and it's like trying to force ball, then they just put themselves in bad positions and they play flustered and fast. And they really just got to get themselves on a good pace.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, Walker really hasn't had like a crazy good year by any means, and I think they need to get him going. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they need to do, but their run game really hasn't been relevant the last few weeks. And, the beginning of the year, I feel like it was relevant. And when it is relevant, they're really good. And they need to get back to that. Definitely. They need to get back to that if they want to be in the playoffs and be a contender. But going to playoff teams, Seahawks, do you think they're a playoff team? I know.
Not really, but I think they're going to sneak in at the 7.
Yeah, I do too. So you think the Cardinals are going to win the division?
Yes.
Okay. Jets, playoff team.
No. Fuck no.
All right. Let's go to Vikings, Cardinals. Another weird one, man.
Yeah.
Another weird one. I think it's a shit. Well, I don't even know if it's a shit. It was just a Mediterranean game. Like the Cardinals, again, we talk about teams supposed to winning this game. Like the Cardinals should have won this game. 19-6 lead in the third quarter, and they lose this. The Vikings somehow come storming back and win this game. And Sam Darnold looked terrible in the first half. Second half, different story. He actually looked good. But they Justin Jefferson, his last few weeks haven't been great by any means. They need to get him going again. This team's been weird. Another team where I'm like, they're 10-2. I don't know how they're 10-2. At the beginning of the year, they look so hot. Now they're looking shaky, and somehow they continue to pull off wins. Do you think they can continue to pull off wins?
Against lesser opponents, yes. But I think when they start going against the Green Bays, the Lions, the Eagles, I think your luck ends there. I think they're lucky to win a lot of these games. Their defense, kind of saves them a lot at the end of the game, especially when Darnold's having poor offensive performances. But they're 10-2 and they're the third best team in their division, which is crazy.
Yeah. You think the third best team in their division?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
some people would make a case for 2. Some people would make a case for 2. But I see what you're saying. I think the Packers are probably more talented, especially from what we've seen. But the Vikings record shows a little bit better. But
the first half of this game was just a kick fest too. Holy shit! There was 6 field goal attempts, or 9-6 with 1 missed, maybe 2 missed, and the Cardinals finally realized they could score a touchdown. I really want to see this Kyler Murray to Marvin Harrison Jr. connection, man, because it can be lethal, but it just hasn't really clicked all year. And you get a touchdown thrown here and there, like this game, but for someone that has so much talent, it feels like they're almost underutilizing him in a lot of games this year.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it's we expected this big bomb duo, and it's they barely tapped into it. Especially for being the number 1 receiver prospect going into this year from the draft. I expected more, and he hasn't been playing bad, but he just hasn't been playing to what our expectations were by any means. So I'll be curious. So you think the Cardinals are the number 1 team in that division?
Yeah, I think.
Why do you think that?
I just think they're. Oh God, I want to say most consistent, but then they choked this game down their leg. I think every team in their division is just hit or miss, all around, hot or cold. And I just think they're just the most talented or have the best chance of putting it all together in a game. I mean, I could see the Seahawks argument. They have the experience and stuff too, but I think the Cardinals are just a little bit more talented. But that's a big game this week, Cardinals Seahawks.
I was gonna say Cardinals Seahawks, big game this week.
Yeah, proves. I could see the argument either way. I just think the Cardinals are just a little bit better than the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see who you pick for Cardinals Seahawks game this week. All right, well, let's go to our next game. We've got the Colts versus Patriots.
It's actually a pretty good game, kind of, but Don't
I
really
don't think
know
it's
if it was.
grab your popcorn.
No, it's Mediterranean, but it's on the upper level of a Mediterranean game because it had a good ending. And
Crazy ending.
yeah,
Going for 2 when
going
you could just tie it and go to overtime. Did you like that move?
absolutely. I always love going for 2 in that situation. Maybe not against a lesser opponent though. A lot of times it feels like you could win that in OT, but this is one of those games where it's close the whole way through. And if you have confidence in your team, I'm all for going for it. And Anthony Richardson has played great the last couple of weeks. He's proven that he can be that guy when he's healthy. The Colts have looked a little bit better. Still miss Flacco. We'll always miss him, but it's a big win. Drake May is a super talented player on a super talentless team.
Yep.
Say
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, he brings them up to a new level. And man, that kick was 4 yards. It was a 64 instead of a 68 or like a 65. That kick at the end had a real decent shot of going in.
Yeah.
That was a crazy attempt though. Like
Crazy attempt, and he almost got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty fun game though.
Yeah, there's no way they should have even been there though. Like
Yeah.
it's nuts that they even had a chance at the end. But I mean, bold ass move by the Colts to go for it. It pays off. I think they needed this one for playoff hopes. I think the Broncos win definitely hurt their playoffs hope a little bit. And I forgot to do playoff teams for Vikings and Cardinals, I think, too. So we'll do that again. Vikings playoff team.
Yep.
Cardinals playoff team.
Yep.
Colts playoff team.
No.
Patriots playoff team.
Nope.
All right. Going to our next game. Steelers versus Bengals. Russ is cooking. Mr. Unlimited.
Grab your popcorn, baby, because this one was fun.
Yeah,
and
this was a fun one.
If you were to tell me the Steelers had 27 points, I think 27 or 21, something like that at halftime, I think it was 27. I would be like, shit, yeah, right. When have the Steelers ever had 27 points at halftime? And so to see the Steelers score 44 points is crazy to me. What Tomlin has done with this team, it cements him as one of the greatest coaches all time. It's insanity what he's doing. And for the Bengals, man, how many close games can you lose is ridiculous. If the Bengals were to score 10 points, their opponents would only score 13. If they score 40, their opponents would score 43.
I mean, he said that a few weeks ago. Yeah.
It feels like they are just cursed to lose by one possession. And poor Joe Burrow, because that man is putting on a season performance only to get undermined by a poor defense. And I saw a crazy stat. There's 6 quarterbacks that have thrown for 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions through 12 weeks. He's the only losing quarterback record-wise. 2 of them were 12-0. The worst record besides him was 3-9. 4 out of 5 of the other guys were MVPs. And here's Burrow, not even in an MVP conversation hardly because his team's so poor. But if they're 8-4, right up there in MVP is crazy.
Yeah. What's crazy about the Bengals too is like they get these early leads. Like they were up 21-7, and then that TJ strip sack happens, and it kind of like all the momentum goes away. And I mean, Russ 400+ yards. That's a vintage performance by Russ right there. He was bombing the shit out of the ball, which was fun to watch. I mean, I think a lot of people have doubted Russ, and I get it. Like I get it, but I think on this podcast, we have kind of always been the ones that have been like, no, Russ just needs a different situation. And we're seeing the product of that situation and what he's able to do with the Steelers offense. And I don't like the Steelers offense, like you said, Tomlin is just, he's been running it good. I mean, Najee Harris is finally looking good again. Russ is looking good again. Like, I'm really happy if I'm the Steelers. I think Steelers could surprise some teams in the playoffs. I think a lot of people think this is like a one and done team. I don't think so. Like, I would not be surprised if we see the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. Bold ass take right there, but I'm serious. Like, I think they could upset some teams with their defense, and if their offense plays like they did today or on Sunday, man, I think they could damn near beat anyone. Obviously, Bengals defense isn't great, so I'll put an asterisk to their 44-point performance. But you're feeling good if you're the Steelers right now. I agree with you. Grab your popcorn. Steelers playoff team.
Yeah.
Bengals playoff team.
Nope. Should be,
Not
but
anymore.
they're not.
Yeah, should be. I've seen some things go around. You think Joe Burrow is going to leave?
I don't think so. I think, man, he stuck through, the shitty O-line his first couple years. And then they finally gave him a little bit of that back, and now they have a shitty defense. But he's their franchise quarterback. I don't see him leaving for any reason. I
Do you
think they
think
still
he
have
would ever request a trade, though?
I think if they don't get him defensive help next year, I could see it in 3 years, kind of. But they know they're going to lose T. Higgins, which is going to hurt their offense. But
yeah,
I mean, Joe Burrow's like he can make anyone
totally
be a good receiver. So I think they really need to find defensive pieces this offseason.
Defense needs to be their focus. Definitely, they need to get some sort of pass rush. They need to get some sort of secondary. Like Cam Taylor-Britt is, like he's fine, but like he shouldn't be your only guy. So get this man some help on defense. All right, well, let's go to our next game. Chargers versus Falcons.
Mid, man, it's another mid game.
Very mid.
And it felt like the Falcons, they lost by 4. It felt like they should have won this game. But Chargers win. Like we always say, almost every week we come on here, Chargers going Harbaugh fashion, man. Low scoring, gutted out wins. And for the Falcons, Kirk Cousins had a very, very poor game.
Yep. 4 interceptions.
Yeah, 4 interception, pick 6, and then that one in the end zone where he could have easily dumped it down to Bijan.
And one at the end of the game to Derwin.
Yeah, could have walked it in himself. Or could have got something else, man. He just floated it into like triple coverage.
Yep.
And man, after week 5, 6, 7, it's like Falcons are a solid team, and they're gonna put a run for the money in this division. And now the last 3 weeks, I'm not believing that hype anymore. They've faltered on every level, and they got to find some kind of pride within themselves and turn this thing back up.
Yeah. No, it's a shame that the Falcons lost this game because you look at the Chargers and like less than 200 yards of offense and you still win. Yeah. Like that's stupid. Like, come on now. Like it comes down to turnovers. You can't do that. And I'm really worried for the Falcons. Like, I don't even know the way they've been playing. I don't even know if they can make the playoffs now. No. Like it's that bad. And I don't even feel confident with any of the NFC South teams. Like we talked about the Bucs. I'm not feeling confident about them. Like whoever comes out of NFC South, I don't feel confident they can make it out of the first round. Do you?
No.
Yeah. So a question, they did draft Penix. Is that starting to look like a good move yet?
I don't know.
Too early?
I don't know how Penix would play either. I mean, you're still in the playoff hope, so you can't play him. But, maybe you drop the next 2 or 3 and you get out of the playoff picture. Maybe give him 2 games, see how he does. But you just gave Kirk an absolute bag. So you can't just go away from that after 1 year, man. It's so much dead money if you do that. So we'll see from here. I still think Kirk's a good quarterback. I think he's just in a struggle right now.
Yeah, he kind of is. And I mean, I think a lot of people forget like he's coming off a torn Achilles. Yeah. Like it's not easy to come back from a torn Achilles. And it's honestly, I feel like we're so used to quarterbacks just like coming back and like acting like nothing happened that it's like almost become this expectation, and it really shouldn't be. I think the biggest hole in this Falcons defense is their defense. Similar to the Bengals, they need to beef up on defense. I think they've got all the offensive weapons in the world. They got to beef up that defense. They got to do something about it next year. All right. Mid-terrain game for me. Chargers, do you see them as a playoff team?
Yes.
Falcons?
No.
No for the Falcons. All right. I'm going to go yes for the Falcons, no for the Chargers. I think the Falcons, I don't know if I said yes on the Bucs or not, but I think the Falcons will edge the Bucs in the end. Let's go Commanders, Titans. Not much to say here. Pretty much a blowout.
It was good to see the Commanders get back to what we know they can be after that three game losing streak, that little lull they were in. And I don't know what happened during that, but Daniels played good again. The offense was rolling again. The defense was going again, and pretty, for the Titans, just what we expect from them. This is the football team they are. This is what's going to happen every week. There's nothing you can really do. Just get to the off season.
Yep, just get to the off season. Commanders blowout, kind of a shit show.
Yep.
That's all that needs to be said. Commanders playoff team.
Yes, I think they are.
Titans.
No.
Let's go to Black Magic Friday. Chiefs versus Raiders. How the fuck do the Chiefs keep getting away with games like this, man? Every fucking time.
I know.
Like,
just doesn't make
what? Illegal formation?
Yeah. With one ref calling it a false start, but then it got switched.
Bro's the ref literally is coming to the middle, signaling a false start, and it's illegal formation.
Yeah, weird.
A little odd, don't you think? Right when the Chiefs get a fumble, I think so.
No,
because I mean, they would. I think they would have won that game.
Yep. Just if you're the Raiders, man, just kick the fucking field goal. It's 3rd and 4. You have no timeouts. There's really not a win-win situation there. I think by taking a play, maybe you get 5 yards and get out of bounds, a little more room for your kicker, but you get tackled short in bounds, you can't spike it. Something like that happens, a fumble, interception. I mean, I think you just kick the ball, give the Chiefs 11 seconds left, and just pray that Mahomes doesn't do you like he's done a lot of teams. But that was just a crazy mistake, man. A missed snap on a mistimed snap for it to end like that is just crazy. And I don't know how the Chiefs get away with it, man. Chiefs should have lost to the Raiders twice this year. They should have lost to the Broncos. They could have lost to the Ravens. They could have lost to the Panthers, but somehow here they are 11-1.
Crazy. I saw something where it was like if the one score game went the other way, what the record would be, and the Chiefs would be like 2 and something.
Yeah,
it is nuts how many one score games the Chiefs have been in and how many times they have gone away with it. I think partially it is coaching, but I think another big part of it is just their fucking luck. Like, I don't even mean to be that guy. I know there's always comments like the Chiefs are just paying the refs always, but like it genuinely feels like it always goes their way, and it's getting kind of old. Absolute great performance by Aiden O'Connell, though. Like probably his best performance I've ever seen him play, because I've never really been a big like Aiden O'Connell guy to this point, and he balled the fuck out this game. Brock Bowers, I think you could make a case for him Rookie of the Year. Like he is top 5 in receiving yards right now. It's nuts what he's doing on that team. He's special. I still think it's crazy that the Chargers didn't pick him up. I still think the Chargers should have picked him up. I know Joe Alt is a really good lineman, but imagine what he'd be doing on that Chargers team right now. Like, I think he would totally change that offense, totally bring a different dynamic, and he'd be on a winning team. So, what would you rate this game?
Mediterranean, probably overall. It was kind of ugly just the whole way through, but that's how the Raiders needed to win this game. That's how they almost won the first game too. If they didn't get stopped on like 1st and goal from the 2 4 times in a row, like they beat the Chiefs, you got to win ugly, and you just somehow got to get that to reverse the luck to somehow go on your side. Like the Bills. Right, that was a 1-score game in the 4th quarter, and the Bills had 4th and 2, and I was like, "Oh fuck, here we go. They're gonna get stopped, and the Chiefs are gonna go down and win this game."
Yeah, dude.
Josh Allen willed his way for them to win that game.
Superman, right there.
That's what you need against the Chiefs, man. Some kind of just crazy
miracle, absolute miracle against the Chiefs. I mean, because that's how they win. It's fucking miracles. You got to do reverse fucking logic on the Chiefs if you want to win. Playoff team, Chiefs.
Yeah, I think they clinched, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So that was kind of a stupid question. Raiders, no. All right, Dolphins, Packers going to Thanksgiving. Tua can't play in snow. Rate the game.
Mediterranean. Packers, complete dominance all the way.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to be Tua's getting over the snow hump.
Yeah.
Like they'll go in, they'll bear the cold. It was cold, but it wasn't a snow game. It wasn't a Buffalo snow game or anything like crazy. It was cold. It was windy. It was sleety, but I mean, you got to win one. Tua, you're 0-6 in these kind of games, and the Packers, it was just dominance the whole way through. You made a little run at the end. It's good to see A-Chain get involved for the Dolphins. Good to see
Jonnu
Smith
again,
continue.
man.
He's cooking, but Tyreek, Waddle were almost non-apparent. And now Tyreek got a bunch of little garbage catches at the end and that little tip touchdown, which is nice for any Tyreek fantasy owners that are regretting picking him over Chase this year, like myself. But Dolphins, man, this is a must-win game for their playoff hopes, and is very disappointing. And the Packers, another good win, another dominating win. They look, they look fresh, they look fun, they're fast. It's a good team for the Packers.
What do you think the Dolphins' issue is? Do you think it's just their injury with Tua earlier in the season? Do you think it's a coaching issue? Like, do you think Mike McDonald is kind of not as maybe as good of a coach as we thought he was, or what do you think their issue is?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just they don't have the swagger they had last year. It was like we're coming out and we're putting 50 on your head every game. It felt like for the Dolphins, and I don't know if it's like a play calling thing this year or confidence in your players. Like last year, there was like screenplay, quick hitter, all sort of misdirection. And then this year, it just seems pretty one-dimensional comparatively to last year. So I don't know. I think that there is a little maybe disruption in the locker room with the head coach. Like there's those rumors starting to come out now, but we'll see. There feels like they're still missing a couple pieces to this team.
I agree with that. I think I've said this for a while, but I just don't think there's a good defense to anchor them. And especially like when a guy like Tua goes down, like it's gone.
Yeah.
And that you can't have that. I mean, if your offense is your sole piece to the team and what it is to be competitive, you got to have a backup plan for when he goes down. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's huge. I think the offense is there. Again, you got to build around the defense. I mean, you look at the top teams in the league right now, and pretty much all of them have good defenses this year. It's a pretty major key. So Packers, it's just solid from top to bottom, man. They're a solid team. They continue to win games that they should win. I like another team I could see similar to Steelers upsetting some teams in the playoffs. I could see them making a run for even potentially an NFC championship. I think it depends if they run into the Lions. I think that's their kryptonite this year. But if they're on the opposite side of them, which I don't know if they would be because they have such a good record. But if they are, watch out. Watch out for the Packers. Playoff team Dolphins.
No.
Playoff team Packers.
Yep.
Yes. Yes and no for me as well. All right, let's go to your Cowboys. Getting a win on Thanksgiving. How do you feel about it?
Torn. It's nice to win. It's nice to get your first home win, in like a year and a half. It feels good. However, we are now rising in the draft order, which is what I don't like to see because I know we're not a playoff team, and it's good to win, but oh man, it's not good when I think the Cowboys I think they're going for Genty in the draft. So, putting yourself behind all these other teams just hurts your chances of getting him without a trade up.
Yeah.
But I think a key point for the Cowboys is like Mediterranean all the way, but their defense, they got players back. Micah looked really good the last 2 weeks since he's back. And then Overshaw had one hell of a game for the Cowboys. He had that pick six. He had a fumble recovery, a couple sacks. And so when some of our key pieces are healthy, this defense is solid, and they've looked solid the last 2 weeks. And it takes pressure off the offense, which is nice to see. We had our first 100-yard rusher in like 26 games or something, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then for the Giants,
and this isn't a bad defense. Like the Giants have actually been pretty tough this year on defense. So
Cooper Rush has been playing good the last 2 weeks. For the Giants, I mean, Drew Lock got his opportunity.
Yeah.
He looked kind of shaky, man.
Yeah, he didn't look good.
He looked good on like scrambling on his legs. He made a couple plays, but besides that, it was really just he's one look in neighbors the whole way, and there really wasn't much else offensively for them. Tracy played good, but he's having fumble problems all year, so he can't really get going too much. But the Giants it's pretty much over for them. Their season's done. They're probably looking at a new coach next year potentially.
Yeah.
So, but overall it's a good one for the Cowboys. What I expected for this game.
Yeah. Kind of what I expected for this game as well. Very Mediterranean game. I mean, there were some, I guess, highlights for the Cowboys as you mentioned, but overall, not like this game really doesn't matter. I mean, as I guess that sucks. It probably hurts a little bit to say, but I mean, it's true. I mean, both these teams aren't making playoffs, and it's kind of just like, all right, well, let's see what players can kind of show up a little bit. But yeah, this game was on Thanksgiving. I don't know how much I paid attention to it though. All right, final game, the game that started us out this week. It was a wild one, man. Holy shit. Bears versus Lions. Lions looked like they were going to dominate this game coming out. I was like, holy shit, this is a blowout. Like, write it off. I think they shut them out. Yeah, 16-0 at half. I'm like, oh, God. We don't even need to watch the end of this. Then the Bears come storming back. Caleb Williams starts making some plays. We start to see some plays. Bears have an opportunity to win it. All they got to do is fucking call a timeout.
Yeah, dude.
And worst clock management I have ever seen in my life. I mean, by far the worst. 32 seconds on the clock after he gets sacked, not a timeout called, doesn't snap the ball till 7 seconds and lets the time go out. That is just awful. And yes, it's Eberflus, but it's also fucking Caleb Williams. You got to have awareness. I don't know where the fuck his awareness was, but it wasn't there. Absolutely awful. I mean, that is just a game that is gonna haunt you if you are a Bears fan. That is fucking awful.
Fuck, man, poor Bears. They're 4-2, and now it just seems like every week they're finding a new way to get a heartbreaking loss, and it's just another one in their long list. Hail Marys, missed kicks, poor clock management. I mean, I didn't know you could be worse than McCarthy at clock management, but here we are. That was poor. And so we were watching this game, and Lions go up big, and then my uncle, his dog, got out, and so we're running through the town trying to find this dog on the loose, and then we come back, and all of a sudden it's 23-20. I'm like, what the hell just happened here? And then we see the end of the game. Maybe I shouldn't have watched because the Bears were doing better when I didn't watch, but this just feels like the first game the Lions, when they had a chance to just completely throttle a team, that they haven't.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Their offense in the second half, non-existent.
Yeah, it was weird.
3 and out, which is I don't know what was they went. I don't know why Jahmyr Gibbs didn't get any carries in the second half. That was weird to me. Like, he
big ass hit on him. Did you see that fumble? Holy shit, he got rocked.
But man, he's better when he gets the ball, and they kind of went away from him in the second half, even with the hit. And then for the Bears, man, it was just a shit show, man. 27 seconds, like you said, players aren't set. Caleb Williams looking around, looking at the play sheet. Coach is just standing there. He said he thought they didn't even have a timeout.
What a dumbass! How do you not know you have a timeout? Like, that is your one job as a head coach.
And
like, you're not calling plays. Like, that is your one job.
And you can't get sacked to get out of field goal range either. That's piss poor on Caleb Williams' part. And then okay, so he gets to snap off with 7 seconds. Do a 5-yard out, a hitch. Why are we going bomb?
Yeah, why are we going deep?
If it's a quick incompletion, or even a quick completion, you can still get your timeout with a second left. But no, you waste the clock by throwing it deep. Just poor. And the Bears finally fire a head coach in the middle of the season, and it was due.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you happy about it? Do you think it's the right move?
I think for the Bears, yeah. I think it was due.
Who do you think they should go after? Do you think? Because I have a guy that I think would fit perfectly. Mike Vrabel.
Yeah. I like it. I like Vrabel. I mean,
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting decision because I think they probably need some offensive-minded guy on there, but I don't know. I think with the DNA of the Bears and who have they been, I think Vrabel would fit in very nicely into this Bears team. All right. Bears playoff team.
Nope.
Lions playoff team. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk some college football playoff. They just released college football playoff updated. Some crazy games. Michigan upsets Ohio State. The fucking brawl on the field. Do you think Ohio State should be in the college football playoff? We'll start there.
Yes, but this is very shaky. You can't have this happen. I'm sorry. This is your rival at home. 24-point favorites.
Yep.
And you let them plant the flag on your field. That's just unacceptable for the head coaching, for the player standpoint. You're the 2 seed, and now you're probably bumping yourself down to where range, probably 6 to 8 range now. I mean, it's Michigan, right? Like, rivalry losses happen all the time. It's like a conference game in the NFL or divisional game. Like, it's due, but I think they're still in. I think they're solid. They almost beat Oregon. They've proven, but it's just not a good loss for them.
Yeah. What did you think of the Georgia Tech game?
Dude.
Absolutely wild. What, 8 overtimes?
Yeah, Georgia should have lost this game, man. They really should have. That was a fun game, but I miss old college overtime. Man, I want
Yeah,
2-point
man. I
conversions.
want them to
Even
bring it to fucking what's it called? NFL.
yeah, I think right. The first 2 overtimes are great. You start at the 25-yard line, and then it just goes to 2-point conversions. And as we saw, like, it's not a lot of plays you can run.
No.
It's hard to score. I think you'd be better off, instead of starting from the 25, maybe start from the 15 in the
Yeah.
third and fourth overtime. You get first and goal from the 15, so it's harder to score a touchdown, but you have more options.
Yep.
And something like that, because I miss the old, college
Yeah.
football OT. But
Yep.
Georgia Tech should have won this game. They're up 14 with 5 minutes left. Let them score. Fumbled when they would have had an easy first down. You could have ran the clock out, and then here comes Georgia, man. They almost knocked themselves out of the playoff race if they would have lost that game.
Yep. Totally. And then the last one I want to talk about, Alabama's still in the fucking college football playoff. What do you think?
SEC bias, man, is there. I think Alabama can compete with the best teams. We've seen them, they beat Georgia, but then they've lost some pretty bad games. And you see a lot of other teams, when they lose to an unranked team, get punished harshly.
Yep.
And Bama, they lose to Vanderbilt, and then that loss to Oklahoma, bad. They looked terrible in that game, and here they are still in the playoff. And
Well, I mean, there's 4 SEC teams and 1 ACC team.
Yeah.
Because Miami lost again, like, it doesn't make sense to me. I would honestly still put Miami over Alabama, in my opinion.
I think you have arguments both ways. Miami hasn't beaten anyone good. I think
they're
I don't know, man. I think Alabama is better than a lot of these teams, but their resume isn't, right. Like, if you can't reward 9-3 teams with 2 unranked losses like this.
Yeah.
Really.
All right. The discussion, the debate, or Travis Hunter.
Man, it's Genty. It's always been Genty for me.
Thank you.
Dude, I don't care about snap count. I do not care. I think Travis Hunter is a great athlete, and he makes plays, and he's a great receiver, and he's a good cornerback, but he's not number 1 receiver, and he's not number 1 cornerback. He's probably in the top 10 for both. But Genty is solidified RB1 in college football. Top 5
He's having a
rushing
historic
yards.
year.
Yep. And here's the thing about Genty. The first 5 games, he's out at halftime. They're not playing him in a lot of these games. Imagine the stats he could have had if they stat padded him the whole game, right?
Yep.
If they gave him 40 carries a game. So I think he's having a historic season, and if he doesn't get it, it's going to be one of the biggest snubs in the Heisman history. Sorry,
Completely agree.
Travis Hunter is a great player. I do not want to take away anything from him, and what he does is insane to play both ways. And he would have 2 touchdowns and a pick in that last game, 3 touchdowns maybe even.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to swing a lot of bias towards him because it's the final games. But man, it's just because Genty was just that guy this year.
I just want to put something into perspective on Genty too. 28 touchdowns, 28 rushing touchdowns. That is the NFL record for a 16-game season. He did it in 12.
Yep.
I know it's a lot different, level of competition. I understand that. 28 touchdowns is fucking ridiculous in 12 games. Like, touchdowns are hard to get by. Plus, you have 2,200 yards on the ground. Yeah. That's another record in the NFL if we're talking NFL stats.
Yep.
Just saying.
Here's another point I want to make with this whole thing. You take away Travis Hunter from Colorado, I still think they're a very solid team. I think they're still capable of being 9-3 without him. Shadur,
Boise
all the
State's
weapons they have on
not a
offense.
college football playoff team
Without him, they're a 6-6 team at best. Maybe they're okay in the Mountain West, but with him, they're number one. They're going to get a top 4 seed in the playoff. They almost. Here's another point. They're saying, "Oh, you don't play anyone. You play in the Mountain West." They went into Oregon and they should have won that game.
They should have won that
game.
They
lost by 3, and he put up like 200 yards.
Yep.
So I don't want to hear that argument either. It's not like Colorado's played much better competition. The Big 12 really was not good this year.
No.
So
I completely agree. Yeah. Should have gone to I should go to Genty, and if he doesn't, I'm gonna be mad. We're gonna be discussing it on this podcast. I promise you that. Yep. All right, last little tidbit. I didn't tell you about this. Kendrick Lamar dropped. Have you had a chance to listen to it? What do you think?
I did listen to it. I don't really know, because I think there's some bangers. I think there's some really good songs to it, but I also didn't like a couple of them.
Okay.
So I mean, it was nice. I always love when Kendrick drops, right? It's always a nice surprise, especially since he took that hiatus, it seemed like, for a while.
Yep.
And then the Drake beef, and then we started getting Kendrick music all the time, and then a nice album. Did he call out Wayne? I don't know.
Oh, he totally did.
Yeah,
totally did. Yeah.
So there's some more beef, which is fun. I thought it wasn't a very long album, like song-wise. So, but
there's series he's dropping another one though.
Yeah. Okay. Good. There are some songs that I like. There's some others I don't really care for. Some weird choruses in there that kind of off-put me a little bit. But
what's your favorite?
The Murals, whatever.
Ooh, Act Out Murals.
Yeah. That one's good too.
All right, well, that's a perfect transition. We are about to transition into the GNX album review. Caden, absolutely blast having you on, buddy. Appreciate it as always. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second part of the podcast. Thank you for listening. If you've listened this far, if you're just skipping to hear my review on GNX, totally understand that. First, obviously, I just want to shout out, like, whenever big artists like Kendrick Lamar like this drops, I feel like the whole world just kind of stops at a standstill. The amount of listens, the amount of reviews, the amount of reactions just immediately coming out of this album is actually nuts. And it just shows the amount of influence Kendrick Lamar has on the hip hop community and just the music community in general. He's a very polarizing artist, and whenever he drops, like I said, the world kind of stops. I listened to it first day like 5 or 6 times, probably just to fully digest it. Kendrick's one of those artists for me that I need some time to digest it. I need some time to really let the music and the content speak for itself. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to do with this new album in GNX. Holistically, before I get into the track list of GNX, I just want to say GNX is obviously a much different feel than a lot of the other Kendrick albums, especially the direction he was going before. A lot of conceptual albums out of Kendrick, I would say his past 4 albums have all been conceptual, and he's definitely a conceptual guy. This one, he even has a line during the album, something about fuck a double entendre. This is fuck a double entendre. This is, what it is kind of thing. And I think that really spoke a lot of volume about what this album is about. Kendrick talks a lot about, the people who have kind of disowned him, if you will, especially after announcing his Super Bowl performance, with all the Drake and Kendrick beef and all the diss tracks that went back and forth. Kendrick sounds angry in this one. Don't get me wrong. We definitely hear a lot of laid back tracks, a lot of diversity in different tracks throughout, especially when we see SZA hop on there, even a song like Dodger Blue, which we'll get into. Those can be a little bit more vibey. And there's some self-reflection and there's some lyricism too. I don't want to discredit that, but it's definitely an in-your-face album. It's got a lot of West Coast killer mentality feel to it. And I appreciate it for what it is. I think it's a great album. I like that Kendrick kind of took a step back from having those big features and are putting the local LA West Coast rappers on the map. I think that's a really cool fact and thing he did on this album. So let's hop right into it. Starting off with Whacked Out Murals, I think this was definitely the tone setter. Even just from the Spanish sample at the beginning to kind of, the track slowly moving faster and faster throughout the song, and the production. I think this song is the best way to describe how this album stands. Um, Kendrick in this one took a lot of shots at people. We shot at Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, like, what the fuck did I do? We saw a shot at Snoop Dogg and his feature on Tailor Made. We saw then him also saying thank you, Nas, for congratulating me on the Super Bowl performance. And really, Kendrick just brings this really angry tone to the track, and I think that's something that we'll see in this album that I'll talk about more. Is I just really appreciate the amount of emotion Kendrick Lamar shows throughout this album. I think that's one of the biggest strengths, is just hearing that emotion through the mic and to your ears. Going to Squabble Up, I mean, I was excited for this song. I honestly didn't think he'd ever release it. He finally releases. We've heard this snippet so many times, and I really like what he did with the sample, old school 80s beat. I mean, it's just a banger. I mean, it's very catchy. It has a very West Coast feel to it. Um, it's it's nice, and I think it's just gonna be a banger. It's one of those hits on the album that I think we'll remember off of it for sure. Going to Luther, both SZA features and songs are both really great. I actually don't know which one I like better. They're definitely both different, but I appreciate it after he kind of comes with this aggressive, too in your face songs. He kind of brings it back a little bit and lets us know he still has that diversity. I still think it's cohesive with the rest of the album. It doesn't feel like it's misplaced. Um, but I love the R&B feel. I love the chemistry between SZA and Kendrick. I love the grooviness of the song. Kind of romantic feeling song. And it was nice to hear. I'm excited for them to go on tour together. I think it will be great. Go to Man at the Garden. I have mixed feelings on this one. I think I love the self-reflection. I love the storytelling on this song. It's definitely very low key, and I think to some people that can be very boring. But the, whole "I deserve it all," I mean, that's very telling of, I feel like, where Kendrick is at. He feels obviously that, he deserves more credit for what he's doing in the hip hop community, what he's doing in the music world, and I think this song really told that. Do I think it could have been a little bit more creatively executed? Probably. However, I do think there serves a purpose for this song, and especially on this album. So I enjoyed it overall. It's not like one of my favorites, but it's definitely a good song overall and a little overhated on. Hey Now, very ominous sound, very killer mentality, kind of changes tone at the end of the song, and you kind of get this more uplifting feel to it. But overall, it just reminds me of very like West Coast kind of murder music kind of song. And I think this song is another one of those tone setters that are essential to the album. Wasn't my favorite song. I think it's a little too repetitive for me. I think it can be catchy. I think there's a fine line between catchy and repetitiveness. I think he flirts at that line a lot on this song. The hey now, like it's fun, it's catchy, but definitely more murderous kind of feel to it. Reincarnated, I think this song is incredible. I think it's one of the best on the albums, if not the best. I know a lot of people have made the argument that it is the best on the album, and I can totally understand why. I mean, the emotion, pure emotion he shows on this song speaks for itself. You can hear the anger, you can hear the self reflection in his voice, talking to God, talking about his life, growing up with his dad and the issues he has with his father. Um, Very vulnerable, but also very real, and I can appreciate both of that. I love the grunginess of this song. It feels like a grunge rock song infused into a rap song, which I really enjoyed. And, I love the journey. I love the talking back and forth. Very clever song. I think it's one of the most clever songs on the album, and definitely one I'll continue to play back. Going to TV off, I think when we talk about pure bangers on this album, I think this has to be up there. Like, it's got to be one or two. It is just instantly recognizable. The one of the highest moments, I think. Obviously, there's a lot of memes going around about the mustard, but like the screaming, like that is so out of the box. I mean, I know that sounds stupid because he's just screaming, but like he's one of the few artists, in my opinion, who can get away with that and make it sound cool, make it sound dope. Not very many artists can do that sort of thing and people not think it's cringy. And Kendrick's one of those few that is able to get away with it. Um, in a weird way, I think this song reminds me a lot of Not Like Us. It's to me like a remixed version of that song. Obviously, much different in terms of lyricism, in terms of the purpose. But I think uh, I mean, it's a banger. It's one that's been on repeat for me. I enjoyed it a lot, and it'll definitely be continuing to play on my phone. Dodger Blue, this song has grown a lot on me. This was one of my misses on my 3 hits, 3 misses, and I don't wanna say I regret it because I never regret what I put as misses, but I will say this, at the time when I first listened to it, I think I said it lacked substance a little bit. And I understand why I said that, and I think, compared, you come straight off of TV Off on the track list, and then you get to Dodger Blue, which is much more mellow, much more I don't wanna say boring, but much more toned down than TV Off, and so I think at the time when I first listened to it and then record 3 hits, 3 misses, it feels like it lacks substance. It doesn't. I think it's a very vibey song. I think it's when you think about West Coast laid back songs, this, like, fits that genre totally, and, I definitely mess with it now. I think it's a great song that Kendrick has made. I love the Wally the Sensei feature and his vocals on it. I think it's a great song. I would have been curious to see what they would have done if they elongated the song, but yeah, great song. Peekaboo, one of my few misses that I still stand by. I think it is still too repetitive. I love the As Chike, I don't know if I'm saying that right, feature on this. I think his tone on that and what he delivers is great. I just think it's a little too repetitive still. It's just I don't know, to me, it sounds annoying. It's a little too repetitive. It's kinda just meh for me. I think Kendrick's capable of better. Again, I think it's one of those songs that he wanted for the album's tone and the atmosphere, and yeah, I it just feels kinda like a little bit of mumbleness and just not my favorite. It's just a kind of a weird song. Going to the hard part 6, I mean, the vocals are great. I feel like this is a song that reminds me a lot of something off of Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. The lyricism, the pen game on this is amazing. I think it is always a great story whenever you listen to the heart part whatever, and it didn't disappoint here either. I enjoy this one. I continue to pick up on different little things the more and more I listen to it. And it's definitely one of the best songs on the album. Going to GNX, I think this is a miss that I didn't put this as a miss. The more I listen to this, the more I dislike it. I think some people really like it, but the distorted production, it just starts to make you feel uneasy. Um, it's got that filthiness to it. It's got that West Coast, and I understand again why it's on the album. It's just not my favorite. I just think there's better on the album. I think um, there was different ways to execute it, and it wasn't my favorite. And then Gloria, it's ends the song with this melodic song talking about his relationship with his pen and his lyricism, and um, it's very clever, romantic way. I think some artists have talked about that in the past, but I like the way he delivers it, and I think SZA's vocals on this are absolutely beautiful. Um, they're I mean, they're breathtaking, like, that she's just an amazing artist, and how can she deliver her voice, so I love the romantic feel of this song. I think it's a great way to end the album on a high note, and yeah, I mean, overall, the album's really solid from top to bottom, and I think a lot of people are looking to hate on this album because I think at times people get tired of hearing about all the good that Kendrick does. They're kinda getting almost that listener fatigue, But I mean, he keeps delivering, and I don't think he did not deliver on this one. So going to our typical way of rating albums, starting with lyrics. When we look at lyrics, I think there's a lot of punchlines on this. The Heart Part 6 is a great lyrical piece of work. I think there's some great lyricism in Gloria. I think there's some great lyricism in Man at the Garden. But when I look at Whacked Out Murals, like that's a lot of punchlines, that's a lot of jabs. And compared to his other albums in his catalog, this is not what I would consider his strongest lyrical work. With that being said, it's still very strong. And Kendrick is a very good lyricist. His pen game's always on point. And I don't think it disappointed in this area, but I also don't think it excelled. I'm going to give this a 7.3 out of 10 for lyricism. For on point production, I actually really like the production on this. I think Kendrick has always done a good job of having a feel with production. Every album to me is very easy to recognize just based off the production through Kendrick. And I think this one had a very specific tone, sound that he was looking for. And the soundscape on this is very fun. It's very West Coast. A lot of beats in your face, but also shows that ability to go more of that laid back West Coast. And I really enjoyed it. I think it kind of told a story through production as well. There's a lot of different beat switch ups. There's a lot of different techniques that are used that I really appreciate. I think the samples that are used aren't overwhelmingly used. I think they're snippeted in a way that are fun. They add to the album. And overall, I think the production is great on this. I'm going to give it a 9.2 out of 10. Going to glorious flows. Kendrick showed some crazy flows on this one. A lot of emotion in his flows, I think, is something that we need to highlight here. And it's definitely a strength on the album. And when we look at flows, we get some higher pace flows like Reincarnated, and then we get some more laid back ones like on Dodger Blue. And I think that just shows his versatility. We even see some singing in like Luther and a little bit in Gloria. And I think that just shows his versatility and what he's capable of. I love that he knows what he's capable of as an artist as well. He's not trying to he experiments in a way that feels safe, but also risky enough that people can appreciate what he's trying to do. And for that, I'm going to give Glorious Flows an 8.8 out of 10. Going immediate hits, I think there are definitely hits on this. And I think this album has overall been perceived by the media very well. And I think, part of that is just who Kendrick is, but I also think a part of that is he was able to find those hits on this album. I really enjoyed TV Off as a hit. I think Squabble Up's a hit. Whacked Out Murals has risen to the scene. Reincarnated, which on most albums, in my opinion, maybe isn't like a hit, but is a good album hit. And I think it's starting to become a hit. I think both SZA songs you could argue are a hit, and so we're talking about half the album right there. I mean, the hits are there. So give me a 8.3 out of 10 for immediate hits. And going to content matter, like I said, conceptually it's nothing crazy advanced. But I can appreciate it for what it is, and I can appreciate what Kendrick did on this album. I think it's a great album, and it's one of those that I think is a step in the right direction. I love Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I think that's a needed album in his catalog, but I'm glad to see him go back into more of that rapping ability and showing more of that versatility. So I think overall the content's really good. It's really solid. Give me an 8 out of 10. That is an overall score of an 8.4. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you giving me a chance. As always, stay logical and rant that nonsense.